Hey, Satanico here once again for God Loves Comics, and this is yet another scintillating episode of Alan Moore's Saga of Swamp Thing. As often collaborated with Steve Bissett and John Totleben, this looks like Stan Walk and Ron Randall. And I'm not going to summarize the previous episode, the previous reading, too much. There were, if I remember correctly, there was some feminism, a very heavy feminist message couched in a tale of a female werewolf. And there was also an issue about racism and slavery as a Louisiana plantation was taken over by zombies. So this is issue number 43 of the Saga of Swamp Thing. There's a monster that lives out in the swamps. Everybody knows that. They even ran an article in Louisiana Life, January-February 1984, about some footprints that they found in Dudge-Demona Swamp down near Hodge. Perhaps your library could find you a copy. The footprints were 13 inches long with a 57-inch stride. Some people thought it was probably a bear from the Atchafalaya Basin. Boy, Louisiana and your names. Since bear tracks are generally about 6 inches long, others weren't convinced. But then, isn't that usually the way with monster stories? There's never any real evidence. Except in this monster story. And it remains largely a question of faith. Now, what do we have here? It's one of the infamous yams that are tubulars that Swamp Thing grows occasionally on its body, which of course Abby has eaten of now, and in a way that allowed them to sort of make sweet, sweet love in the in the green, I guess is the way it would be described. Oops. Let's just keep it at 1. Sorry if I'm clearing my throat a little bit. I'm not congested. I just have a little bit of a, rough kind of feeling in the back of my throat. Once again, Alan Moore, Stan Wack, Ron Randall, and the usual cast and crew. Created by Lynn Wein and Bernie Wrightson. This is called Windfall. Now we'll go to 2 pages. Oh well, who knows? Let me take you down. La da dee da da dee dum dum dum, and something something la la. Strawberry fields forever. Beatles. Stop in the name of love. La dee da da whoa 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 whoa. Baton Rouge, here we come. Good night, man. Thanks for the ride. Happy trails to you. Da 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 dum. Happy trails. Tragedy. Tragedy. When you feel it's gone and you can't go on. Tragedy. Where the hell did that come from? Okay, so this is a guy who obviously loves his music. Even, you see a poster right there, Fillmore East, the Allman Brothers. But the tragedy, that's not really likely to be in his playlist. So he's wondering why that's coming into his head. So, of course, that's a little bit of foreshadowing, it seems. And he pulls out the yam and a plant identifier book, plant identification, botany, politics of ecstasy. That's interesting. I wonder if that's probably not the ecstasy that became, well, maybe it was really becoming into its own in the 80s, but I'm not quite sure. And then he's got a poster in the very back by the window of mushrooms, which are probably edible mushrooms and hallucinogenic mushrooms. Don Juan, a Yaqui way of knowledge. Slices up the yam. I'm not sure if it smells bad or if he's having some sinus issues when he tilts his head back like here. Chester, it's me. Oh, hi, Dave. I spoke to Mike at Third Eye Books. He said you would be in later, so yeah, sure. Let me take the chain off. Good to see you, man. Been a long time. I don't suppose Sandy is any better. Dave. Oh, God, she's dying. Chester, what am I going to do? She knows she's going soon. At the hospital, they said the cancer was inoperable. And so, she said she'd rather be at home when it happened, but she's in pain, man. God, it's hurting her so much. How long does she? God, I don't know. Has to be soon. Tonight, tomorrow, the night after. She's my wife, Chess. I can't watch her hurting like this. I thought you might have something, like some kind of dope that would make it better. The author, Aldous Huxley. Didn't they give him dope when he was dying? Chess, you have anything like that? Hell, Dave, I don't know. I've been doing 10 days brown rice trying to clean out my system, you know? I don't have anything here right now that would... Maybe this bizarre tubular vegetable that I found. Look. This probably won't do any good, but, well, it's something I found in the swamps today. Been trying to identify it, but really, I don't know what the hell it is. It's a little like a yam, but it's really complex and highly organized. It's got some similarities with datura root. So maybe it has some sort of unknown psychedelic. I don't know. You want it? It's yours, no charge. And this is all you have? Hey, I'm sorry. Maybe I could ask around for you. No. I think it has to be tonight. I'll take a piece of this. It can't make her any worse, can it? Thanks, Chess. Sorry about crying and everything. It's just... I know, man. It's okay. You can get back home to her now and tell her Chester says God bless and sends his love. So he could give this to her, and, as we've seen, it is actually a hallucinogen. But as far as he knows, it could be poisonous and could kill his wife, and then he could be accused of that sort of thing. But anyway, at least this is a rare case in the series where a husband seems genuinely compassionate, has no nasty ulterior motives or any truly deep dark secrets, at least as far as we can tell. And here's a knock at the door. Bok, bok, bok. Dave, hold on, man. Oh, Milo, not so benign. Chester, how you doing? Seeing much of that chick lately? What was her name? Not much of a face, but nice legs. Me and Suzanne split up a couple of months ago. Milo, look, I'm expecting friends. Sure. Listen, I just came by, see if you had anything interesting around the place. My main connection is away on business. I feel like getting screwed up tonight, I was talking to that space case down at Third Eye. He said you'd be home, so I thought, oops. Milo, I don't have anything. I've been keeping clean lately. Clean? Sure. What's this? Some kind of herbal high, man? It's just some stuff. I don't know what it is. I found out in the swamps. Listen, I ain't had time to check that stuff out yet. You don't want it. It's dope. I want it. Boy, found the yam and everybody's coming by. Milo, look, that's all I got in the place, man. I said I want it. It looks interesting. Come on. How much you want for it? $5? $10? Milo, I don't want to. Look, okay, I'll give you $15, okay? $15 for one lousy slice of that gunk. Oh, look, all right. I mean, $15. Take it and go. Hey, man, that's great. I'll take this piece because it's the biggest. Listen, I ain't got the bread on me right now. I have to owe you it. Owe me it? Milo? Come on, man. Hey, what's the problem? It's a hostile world, man. We gotta trust our friends, don't we? Sure we do. Catch you later, Chaz. If you see what's her name with the legs, tell her I was asking for her. Son of a bitch. I'm sorry, Sandy. It's the only thing he had. How are you feeling, honey? I feel sick. I feel scared. Here, let me have that stuff, whatever it is. Sandy, I keep waking up in the mornings and thinking, oh, thank God, it's all a dream. And then I remember, Sandy, listen, I love you. Hush. You be strong. I'm scared because I don't want to die and I need you to be strong. This stuff, it tastes kind of scented. What did you say it was? It was just some stuff Chester had. Geez, I hope it works. You don't feel anything yet, do you? Sandy, is anything happening? Something's definitely happening, much like it happened to Abby when Swamp Thing gave her a taste of himself. But it doesn't look like it's working out so well for this guy. Nothing, not one goddamn thing. How long's this stuff gonna take? That Chester, that crummy, useless acid casualty. What the hell's he been trying to sell me? He's insulting your reputations, a connoisseur, man. That's what he's doing. Damn right he is. I was ripped off, man. I was burned. There was a bomb under the table. Alec Holland. No, Milo Flynn. I reached for it, but it was too late. Ah! I was burned beyond recognition. Alec Holland. My name is, no, wait. I'm Milo Flynn. I woke up in the lab. The men were gone. Hey, Milo, straighten out, man. Okay, so obviously he's not actually on fire, but he is having a hallucinogenic trip that may be excruciatingly painful, and he is experiencing elements of Alec Holland, aka Swamp Thing's consciousness from the explosion that essentially incinerated Alec. So that's what you're having here. But that's because he had, I guess, bad intentions, and so he ended up with a bad trip. Whereas this guy has good intentions, and it looks like his wife is going to have a good trip. Life. It's all life. Sandy, what's life? What are you? And she's experiencing the beautiful side of Swamp Thing's hallucinogens, where she can feel completely integrated into nature. You, me, Felix, everything. It's all the same thing, like an ocean, but all divided up and contained in separate bottles. David, you're beautiful. You still taste of that fruit. It's nice. It's like Sandy. Sandy, where are you going? You have to stay in bed. Hey, Sand, come on. Look, you're not supposed to be walking around. You're supposed to lie still. There's plenty of time for lying still. Come on, David. You have to help me. You have to help me outside. And she just innately wants to be surrounded by nature, which is a beautiful thought. You know, even though she's still dying, suddenly she realizes that the death of her human being still means ultimately she's integrated with the world, I think. Out. I've told you jerks before, no freaking off in my bar. Fell into the water, into the swamp, molten tallow fat sizzling on contact with the cold liquid mud. And when I emerged from the depths, everything was different. So this is fascinating. In his hallucinations, he's basically just reliving Swamp Thing's origin. In his mind, he's actually seeing what Alec Holland, or at least the vegetated consciousness of Alec Holland, ultimately saw. But in actuality, of course, he's still the same schlub that he was before. But definitely a bad trip. Everything. Yeah, bugs! I got bugs crawling around inside me. I can feel them. Oh God, look at my arms. All these roots sticking through me. All this stuff. It's growing on me. It's growing all over. All over the garden. All over the world. In Russia, in China, everywhere. Oh, Dave, can you see it? I don't know. I mean, everything looks sort of fresh and vivid, but Sandy, we're getting wet out here. It's all getting wet. And the water changes from solid to liquid to gas, moving around the planet. And there's separate icicles and melt and vanish. Separate puddles that dry up and they're gone. But they're not gone. They just change state is all. You know, icicles, snowflakes, they're all unique. They each have their own beautiful shape, and when they melt, it's gone forever. That's where I am now. I've got my own shape, and I like it, but I don't want to lose it. But icicles are frightened of the sun. There's no need. There's no need for all this fear. So that's a beautiful way of dealing with death, in a sense, from Alan Moore. That she just, you just change from a different form, and integrate back into the atmosphere. And into nature. Yeah! I'm not dead. Alec Holland is dead. But I'm not him. I don't know who he is. Milo Flynn. I'm Milo Flynn. Sure, buddy. Sure you are. Say, you have a couple of bucks to spare? I've been going through a bad patch at work, man. It looks like Frankenstein. Leave me alone. Oh, okay. These are, again, creatures that Alec Holland, Swamp Thing, whatever you want to call him, has already encountered in prior episodes, including the sort of vampire bride, the Monkey King, and all of these various creatures. The Frankenstein-looking creature, though, I think was kind of like a Bernie Wrightson ode. Hey, watch where you're going, man. Huh? Look at it. His eyes on the stuff. Ought to stick the whole bunch in the army. Oh, God. Oh, God. This is what the world's really like, isn't it? I can see it now. We're all monsters. We're all deformed things living in hell. Everything just dies and rots. Gets full of bugs, mindless bugs eating each other. It's horror. It's all a horror. Hey, honey, need a date? Hey, creep. I'm talking to you. Let a little love and affection into your life, why don't you? So she's actually a prostitute, but he's only seeing her as that vampire bride from Swamp Thing's recent past. I think it was Indiana that was submerged in a dam break and created, had these aquatic vampires. I'll have to go back and listen. Droplets. All distinct, individual with their own little highlights, their own little reflections of the world. And they run together and lose their individuality, becoming a puddle, a lake, an ocean, merging with all the other droplets. Flowing together, we spend our lives pressing our bodies against each other, trying to break the surface tension of our skins to unite in a single gleaming bead. It's almost as if we know, my love, the sun is coming, and our unique shapes will soon be gone. Let us rehearse that moment when our spirits finally trickle together. Let's run through it just one last time. So they're having their sex for the last time, perhaps, in her life, but she's suggesting that her individuality will disappear, her physical form will disappear, but she will just flow back and become one with the world. And this is juxtaposed, of course, every single page. you get the ugly side of this hallucination of what Alec Holland has experienced as Swamp Thing, even though this is a very deformed and distorted. Swamp Thing looks handsome compared to Milo's version of Swamp Thing. Running, sobbing, whimpering, splashing in sticky puddles, stumbling through the driving arterial rain, running through Monster City. In Jersey, I sold junk cut with rat poison. In Arkansas, I saw Juliet downstairs so she miscarried. Away down the alley, some kids are burning a dog. Wow, that's kind of psychos. A city, a continent, a whole planet full of torture, madness, death. Heads strung like beads across the phone wires, bloated crows mincing between the murdered women littering the sidewalk. There's no way out. There's no way out, but I keep running. Hey, mister, watch out. Don't you see the light? All he sees is the horror and the ugliness of the world. Maybe, which really does exist. But there is another way, perhaps. Sandy, I can feel a sort of light. Sandy, what is it? It's the sun. But it's still nighttime and it's raining. It can't be not that sun. Kiss me. He's found ways to integrate these really passionate, beautiful love scenes throughout the series, mostly between Alec and Swamp Thing, believe it or not. But not Alec and Swamp Thing, Abby and Swamp Thing, and here once again, without violating the comics code, but without seeming overly saccharine or sappy as well. Just beautiful. Not dead. I'm not dead. Hey, Pond Life, out of the way. Don't you understand? Don't any of you understand? I'm in hell, but I'm not dead. There's been a mistake. There's been a terrible mistake. And there is the really hideous, deformed face of Arcane. Always Swamp Thing's lingering arch nemesis, even when he's been disposed of for quite a long time. And in his hallucination, he runs right in front of a car. Somebody slams on the brakes, but strikes him nonetheless and probably kills him. Geez, the poor guy, is he? Yep. He's dropped off the twig. That's one way of putting it, since he was thinking it was Swamp Thing. Dead? Hey, Dave, I'm sorry, man. No, don't be sorry. It wasn't a bad thing, you know what I mean? It wasn't a bad experience. So he died in a really violent, terrible way from his hallucinations. But Dave's wife died in a really beautiful, peaceful, happy way with a lot of hope for whatever transition she was going to make. That stuff you gave me for her, it made everything so beautiful. I only got the taste of it when I kissed her, but even I could feel what was happening inside of her. Really? Really? I don't know what it is, but somebody ought to market it quickly. Thanks for giving it to me, Chester. You're a good man. Well, glad I could help. I didn't really do anything. You gave my wife's last moments some meaning, Chester. You ought to feel good about that. Yeah, I guess I do. Poor Chester is trying to be clean and sober, and everybody's still hitting him up for drugs, including, it looks like, a new contestant. Looks like a weird, cracked out John Constantine, but of course it's not. You dumb hippie bastard. I hope you feel bad about what you did, man. Right after, this is the world, right after a guy tells him to feel good about what he did. He made such a big difference. Here comes another guy saying, I hope you feel good about it, sarcastically, with a lot of hostility. You gave Milo that stuff. You as good as killed him. Hey, man, he came in here and demanded that stuff. And the other person who tried it had a real good time. He was screaming about burning up, man. That don't sound like a good time to me. I don't know. I mean, maybe that stuff just brings out what's in a person already. Exactly. Well, Milo sure must have had some weird junk in his head, all right. I ain't never seen anybody that messed up before. I just flashed on something. This stuff, this fruit, it's like some kind of cosmic litmus paper, yeah. You eat it and it tells you whether you're a bad person or a good person. Yeah, later for that intergalactic crap. As far as I'm concerned, it's just some weird junk that makes people unbelievably screwed up, which brings me to ask, what I wanted to ask you. You have any more? Of course, I knew that. This guy looks like a walking corpse. I threw him out. 10 minutes later, I noticed my yin-yang paperwork had dematerialized. Worthless, lousy junkie. I hope he dies. Yeah, he stole his yin and yang paperweight. It's late now, and I got some Country Joe playing here. If I take one more trip down, I don't know if I'll ever come down. If I take one more trip now, I don't know if I'll ever come down. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think I'm a good person. I mean, that's how I try to be. I don't abuse the planet or other people. I'm never violent or anything. But I still eat meat. I sometimes think that's some pretty bad things. I said some stuff to Suzanne before she left, and I wish I hadn't said it. But hell, there's worse people than me. At least I never hit a woman. Some guys do that all the time. I guess in the end, you're as good a person as you think you are. So here he's contemplating whether to eat the last piece because he's realized that the experience that you have, the hallucination that you have really is dependent on what kind of person you are. And I think this is Alan Moore ruminating on the fact that just because this guy takes drugs, that doesn't make him an evil person. He doesn't abuse people. He's not hostile. He actually feels guilty about eating meat, but he's a very peaceful, decent person. And, but he's questioning whether he's good enough to take this or whether it could be a really bad experience. And here is your answer. It's just a question of faith. That's all. Picks it up, thinks about biting it, stops, puts it back down on the plate, and sits down. Nah. And the shadow on the wall is Swamp Thing. But it's also maybe the monster inside of you. The monster inside of him. The monster inside of all of us. But, and there's a Freak Brothers comic, which is a underground comic right there, which is a pretty clever little aside. And a bong over here. Not that I've ever used one or had one, but I know what they look like at least. So anyway, there you go. Poor guy. Of course, it's still there. The temptation's still there, like any drug. And this guy was an addict or a user of some sort. So there's no question. There is some question as to whether eventually he'll give in and eat it, or whether someone else will come to his door and want something, he'll just give it to them. But there you go. And this issue is called, well, I don't know what it's called. I was going to read Sophisticated Suspense Swamp Thing, winner of 2 1984 Eagle Awards. And this is once again by Alan Moore, Steve Bissett, and John Totleben. So the old crew is back again. And With that cover, we may get Alan Moore once again questioning American patriotism, but who knows? We'll find out. Test me. Go on. Think of a number. What? I said test me. Think of a number between 1 and 164. 58. 58? Let's see. Her eyes were gray-green, like an Aggie I once had, only with little flecks of ochre around the center. Ask me another. Wait a minute. I don't get this. Is this like some sort of party piece or what? Come on, just ask me a number. Oh, what the hell? 132. 132. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful blue eyes. I mean, just perfect. Like the sky, like the sort of blue that only you get in paintings. I mean, how can they call me callous? How can they call me callous when I remember every single pair of eyes? He grabs them. So, before I even venture any further, I'm going to take a guess. It's possible this guy's a serial killer, and he's killed 164 people, but he remembers the details. He remembers the look in their eyes and, details of them right before he killed them. But that's a completely random guess, because I do not know how the story goes. Clive Barker book. I don't know books. Not well versed enough in Clive Barker to know the actual title, or to guess at it, I should say. And she starts to hear schlupping, schlopple, plop, 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 snick, blop, twallop, porp, all of these gloppy, gloopy sounds forming in her sink, which should be terrifying, but of course it's just Swamp Thing. And very funny. It looks like she got the plunger out, maybe because she didn't know that if he was going to be able to make it out. I'm not sure. He's pretty grotesque as he's reforming. And he looks a little terrified. But now he's back to calm. Hello. And she's kind of gathering herself, because no one quite gets immediately used to something like this. He's still got like algae and slime and slop dripping out of her sink. And this is titled Bogeyman. And once again, it's actually Ron Randall is also helping Bissett and Totleben. Hello, Alec. You just poured yourself out of my sink. I think I'm going to need a little more something than hello. Oh, that. I thought that. You must be tired of visiting me out in the swamps all the time. By shifting my consciousness to the flora in the pipe system, I was able to visit you. That's very thoughtful of you. I'm just glad my hair's this color already. Hey, this is the first time I've been back to my place. I feel I should offer you some coffee. Please, have one yourself. Should I come through in the living room? Yeah, sure. I mean, just let me get some newspaper, because the carpet's sort of new. I mean, I won't be a moment. There. Just try to keep on the paper, okay? Did you come by for any particular reason? Was there something you wanted to talk about? Yes. Constantine still has not contacted me. So you're finally sick of the supercilious English creep. You don't have to put up with being shunted around and manipulated anymore. That's great. Isn't it? I don't think so. I think it's kind of haunting him, because he still knows that Constantine has more mysteries to reveal about the world that he doesn't understand, and about himself, of course. But we shall see.
I'm not sure. He leads me around the country, tantalizing me with mysteries, and then vanishes with so much left unexplained. I cannot believe that the trail just peters out. So much seems strange about the world, the skies, the weather, even the constellations seem different. Without Constantine, I am not sure how I stand.
Hey, I'm sorry. Could you keep on the paper, thanks? Almost treating him like a dog, even though it's not meant to be malicious or unintentional. It's just like he's oozing swamp, and this is the first time she's actually encountered him in a house, and certainly her own house with new carpeting, so she's just being clean and practical. But I don't know if he likes that feeling. Oh, and the window. You better not go near the window in case somebody sees. I mean, it's not that I'm worried about you bringing down the property values or anything. Oh. Uh-oh.
No, I understand. I'm inconveniencing you. I'd better go.
Hey, look, I'm sorry, Alec. I just wasn't prepared. Listen, perhaps next time if you just let me know you're coming.
Yes, perhaps.
And listen, don't worry about Constantine. He's not worth it. You should just be glad you're rid of him. He just... Alec? Oh, well. If you're going to sulk... Here's a very, very cute, clever aside. Squup, plurp, sluck, twep, skulk. Skulk and skulking. Pwup, thwup, quep. Ween, as in Lynn Ween. So that was a nice, it's like Lynn Ween's name almost fits into these sound effects. But this is the first time that we've seen Abby act this way, where she wasn't elated to see him. And it just shows sort of the incredible contrast between their two worlds. And for the first time ever, she sort of seemed ashamed if she was seen with him, or more likely if he were seen from her window. So that hurt his feelings, I think, and he may be disappearing for a little while, but he's also really interested in getting back in touch with Constantine, obviously. Who speak of the devil. Dayton, come on, mate. Snap out of it. There's no point sulking, much like Swamp Thing was. Alright, so there's an apocalypse going on outside. So what? I mean, it's not the end of the world. Well, technically, that's what an apocalypse is defined as. Constantine, it's all a joke to you, isn't it? Don't you understand? Oh, God. I want a drink. No, you don't. No, you want some nice fresh air. Come on. Get your coat on and listen. Don't worry about this crisis business. It's what comes after that you should be worrying about. John, why are you always so damn cryptic? I mean, earlier you said something about a bog thing. Swamp Thing. Actually, yes, he's quite crucial. But I think I'll let him stew for a bit longer. He's so caught up in the whole situation by now. They're bound to have noticed him. There's no need to send him looking for trouble. Trouble will be looking for him. Oh, God, John, look. Look at the sky. I think we recognize this fellow. It's a bit like 2001, isn't it? Excuse me. It's dangerous out here. Most people are keeping indoors. We're not sure what's causing the disturbance, but it's in the best possible hands in the meantime. It's all right, Squire. This gentleman's one of you. You've heard Mento. John, come on. He wouldn't remember. Mento? No. Oh, wait, Mento, who was attached to the Doom Patrol? Yes, that's right. Married to one of them, actually. You were at our wedding. Oh, yes, of course. Well, listen, I'm sure you and your friend will be as safe as anybody. I have to go. There's a lot to do. Yes, of course. Good luck. There, you see? That's the thing about nights like this. You never know who you're going to run into. Just a brief cameo from Batman, but this is a great, again, way of Alan Moore introducing peripheral characters from the DC universe that really are pretty superfluous, and probably integrating Mento into this in a way that has some meaning. We shall see. Batman's cameo is pretty entertaining. We saw a great appearance by the Justice League back several episodes and several issues back with the Floronic Man. So, fella, it's lucky you and I met up. Never would have made it home without you. It's funny. Don't usually get as plastered as this. Must have been drinking on an empty stomach. Gets you every time. Hey, listen. When we find my street, the house number is 97. Bag lady, one eye was brown, the other had a cast or cataract maybe. Both. Looked like somebody shot her in the head with a musket ball of frosted glass. No. I mean, my house is 97. Hey, are we going the right way? I don't recognize. Don't worry, it's a shortcut. We'll have you home by 12. Maybe home by 12, but not alive. Tell me, when you were a kid, were you afraid of the bogeyman? Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, everybody was, but I knew the bogeyman. The bogeyman. Knew him personally. He pretended to be our school janitor back when I was in 3rd grade, but I knew he was the bogeyman. His eyes were like nails and yellowed ivory. They gave him away. If you ran in the hallway, he'd grab the short hair at your temples and pull it. Funny sort of pain, made you feel sick. Don't talk about sick. He brought coffee to school in a flask. I stole a glass test tube from the science room and ground it up with a mortar and pestle, and it was easy. He was number 1. So the suggestion is here that this psychopath ground up a glass test tube and put it in the janitor's coffee. Maybe the janitor did something to warrant it, maybe not. But that was his first, I should say, victim. And that was when he was in 3rd grade. Lovely. And I think he was talking 164 when he was in the bar. So this would be 165 if there hasn't been any other killings since, which I assume there haven't been. Nobody suspected it was me. The bogeyman was gone. He couldn't scare me anymore. Pretty soon I realized he'd left a vacancy as bogeyman. If I didn't fill it, somebody else would. Hey, where are we? It's Ginny Tucker was my first proper assignment as bogeyman. Big, slow girl around 15, none too bright. We went up to the gravel pits. Her eyes looked like butterscotch. She was number 2. Hey, leave off with all the numbers. I ain't feeling so good. I mean numbers. Numbers, what is it with you? Numbers are important, friend. Everybody has a number. Whew. And yours just came up. Huh. Hey, wait. What the hell's up? This is just monofilament fishing line. 10-pound test, 100 yards. And the owl is the only witness. And even it looks terrified. Yep, 165. So this is legitimately creepy. A serial killer who thinks he's the bogeyman. And Alan Moore, this preceded his incredible From Hell, which followed the exploits of Jack the Ripper. I go through his wallet. Nobody pays me any wages for doing this job, so I collect a sort of boogeyman tax. I count the bills. $33. 33. Further down the track, I turn and look back at him, lying there, still and quiet, in the leaf mold. He looks like he's moonbathing. No need to cover him. Swamps are boogeyman territory. They'll protect me. In other words, the swamps pretty much consume the body very quickly and/or, conceal it. Nobody finds it in time. Won't matter. Probably nobody will find the body for weeks, except for Swamp Thing. Now, by touching his head, I'm not sure if he is able to see what happened to him. Seems unlikely since his brain dead, but I'm not sure if that's what he's doing. Bogeyman night came. Bogeyman moon. I'm glad I came here. It was just an impulse, as if something was telling me that Louisiana was where it was happening. Louisiana needed a boogeyman. Boogeyman, just a word, has a kind of aura around it. I can't understand why people avoid it. Why they invent other names like serial killer or whatever. I mean, what's wrong with the boogeyman? Wait a minute. Where am I? All these trees look the same. They all look the same. If they had eyes, I could tell them apart. But, let's see. If I bear left, I think I can reach Highway 71. He's pretty obsessed with eyes, and of course, in classic Alan Moore, cleverness, basically all we're seeing is his eyes the entire time. Perhaps at the very end, we'll reveal more of him. And then when I see Alexandria, I can head up to cross the state line to Arkansas. It'll be safe there. State police departments never connect. So from Alexandria, I have to take Highway 165. 165. That's a coincidence. Wonder what it means. All coincidences mean something. Ask anybody in my line of work. Well, not exactly my line of work. I mean, there's only one boogeyman, right? I just mean people who like the stuff I like. I know guys like that all over the country. They move from state to state, meeting up occasionally, trading stories. In Portland, I heard about a guy who'd done 650. Awesome. Now, this immediately occurs to me that Alan Moore Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore's acolyte and the person who introduced this book, wrote the introduction to this book, famously did a Sandman story where there was a convention of serial killers. I actually think it was like a comics convention almost, like they meet up at a hotel lobby and share stories of their exploits. All, of course, no one really knows that they're serial killers in terms of the any sort of law enforcement. But this, once again, looks like an example of Neil Gaiman getting his ideas from Alan Moore, because what he's saying here is could easily have spurned, and I would almost bet the farm that's, gave Neil Gaiman this idea that he played with and took in a little bit of a different direction. But I feel like I see a lot of derivation of Sandman from Alan Moore's sort of genius work. I feel like Alan Moore is the much more inspired of the two writers, even if Neil Gaiman is the more commercially successful. In Portland, I heard about a guy who had done 650. Awesome. The tragedy is it's the losers who make the headlines. Charlie Manson, Richard Speck, Son of Sam. I mean, add their scores together. You still ain't get treble figures. Am I going the right way? This must bring me onto the highway. But the undergrowth seems so dense. Maybe I should have... a damn junk growing all over the place. Who needs it? I have to stop, get my bearings, also my breath. This ground, it's the pits. Even walking, it wears you out. I lean against a tree while I scrape the mud off my boots, and the tree takes my hand? So that's pretty funny. He's absolutely disgusted with some of the most famous serial killers in American history because, of course, they didn't kill very many people, and he knows the more underground, less renowned serial killers like himself and the Portland guy have killed hundreds upon hundreds. Yeah! Well, was it a bear? Was it a bear? Run, get out of the way. Get out of the range. It was a bear, I'm sure. I can't hear it following me. I look back and there it is. Against the moonlight, not a bear, a man. A big man. Maybe a Cajun. Damn coon ass if he thinks he... Wait a minute. It looks like he's melting. So even though he's a serial killer, he's still deathly afraid of the same things anyone might be afraid of. Trick of the light, sure. Some kind of junk Cajuns know how to do. Well, he's made a mistake, man, if he knew who he was fooling with. Here comes 166. He must be behind me someplace. Okay. I'll wait up here. I never had a Cajun before. I wonder what color their eyes are. Are they brown or blue or fiery red? I got him. I must have. Where is he? He's gone, but I got him. His hand, jeez, I cut off his hand. How did I do that? I just slashed at him. Wait, what? And the hand just starts growing roots. Yeah, get off of me. Get off of me. Ah, no. Got my arms, it's wet. Cut it off. I'm hurting myself. What is it? Just run. There's a way out. There has to be a way out. Nope. And this is Swamp Thing in his most terrifying incarnation. Turn, run, another path, another trail, another... He keeps dissolving and reforming wherever this guy is. No, this is all wrong. This doesn't happen to me. That's understood. It goes with my job unless... No. They wouldn't appoint anyone else. Not without telling me. I'm perfect for this job. I've always done everything by the book. I never put a foot wrong. I mean... He thinks he's been replaced as a boogeyman. Oh, no, hey, no, not this way, not mud. I mean, listen, I can take it, but oh, hell. And he's just going to drown, suffocate in the bog, quicksand. Hey, listen, do you know who I am? I killed 165 people. Listen, you tell him, right? You tell him who I was and what I did. I'm not ashamed. My name... I'm going under. I'm going. Where am I? You're here with us. But who are you? That depends. Who would you like to talk to first? You can decide. Wait a minute. I don't understand where. Come on, it's simple. Just think of a number. In the darkness, somebody takes hold of the short hair of my temple and begins to tug. I try to scream, but my lungs are filled with mud. What a fantastic climax to that. Again, Swamp Thing doesn't even commit any real act of violence. He never punches the guy, he never attacks the guy. The guy cut his hand off. He just keeps rematerializing. And essentially, the guy just freaks out. The serial killer freaks out. And what's really classic about this is that this guy's really... This goes into the point that the media always makes. You know, these killers, a lot of times they just want recognition. They want to be recognized for, you know, for their crimes at some point. And yet... they can't exactly go public with it unless they get arrested. But so this guy was really jealous of the big name serial killers who, in his assessment, hadn't really killed very many people. And so in the end, he's like screaming to Swamp Thing, you know, he's not ashamed of what he's done. Just remember his name. And of course, nobody's going to remember his name. Nobody's going to ever know he existed. You know, there will be families who lost loved ones, but, you know, he'll never be remembered. And then he sinks into this bog, into the mud, and he's going to relive, you know, his personal hell after his death is going to be reliving the terrible experiences of the 165 people he murdered, starting with the very first one, the janitor who used to grab him by the little hairs at his temple. He ground up glass and put it in the janitor's coffee and killed him. And so one by one, all of his victims are going to haunt him now. And that's justice. And that's a brilliant way to end it.
Another monster dead. How many more before this country has been squeezed dry of nightmares? Constantine led me through the Badlands, promising knowledge, but delivering only horror after horror. Things that cannot be buried or forgotten or walked away from. Is there some pattern that I should perceive in this senseless pageant of atrocity? Is there some truth that may be divined from the entrails of America? It seems useless. I struggle to impose a structure that has a meaning on the madness that churns within this continent, within this world. But tonight, I looked into a man's eyes and glimpsed the abyss, and I fear that it may be bottomless. Obviously, he's talking about serial killer, but in a greater perspective, he's maybe talking about the soul of America itself, of its violence, of its self-destruction, you know, maybe a commentary on that as well, because of course he mentions America as well, the entrails of America. I know that there must be an answer, a light in the blackness, but I don't know if I can find it on my own. Constantine, where are you? Why did you leave me in the dark? Beautiful page there. Beautiful profile, sort of melting into the cosmos and back into the swamp. Crunch, rusp, crunch. The phone rings and she screams because she's reading, okay, she's crunching, she's eating potato chips. She's reading Clive Barker just by the light, and that's scaring her. The phone rings, and that really scares her. Whew. Hello, Abby Cable? Hello, Miss Cable. Keeping well? Listen, tell your boyfriend to be in San Miguel, California, a week from today. Tell him it's his last stop before the finale. That's all. You can get back to your book now. Click. Next issue, Ghost Dance. And that was obviously Constantine on the phone and the last stop before the finale. And he intuited that she was reading the Clive Barker book. Cool cover. This is Alan Moore, Stan Walk, and Alfredo Akela, winner of 5 Jack Kirby Awards, which is pretty impressive. And it looks like some sort of zombified, undead gunslinger. And this is issue number 45. Hammering, bang, bang, bang. And then juxtapose the hammering with gunfire. 13 fireplaces in the seance room were Victorian fireplaces. The silence in the seance room was Victorian. Silence, cold and reserved. Bang, bang, bang. Circling the massive oak table, Ed Clutty and the Dutchman were attempting to settle it out once for all. Ed, who still maintained that the deck had been marked with that night in 1851, shot off the Dutchman's ear. The deck had been marked, meaning he's shooting him for the classic reason that he thinks that he was cheating at cards. Of course, Ed's hand looks like, or if you see his wrist, this is Ed, his wrist looks like it's rotting, so. Considering Ed to be merely a poor loser, the Dutchman blew 3 fingers off Clutty's left hand. Ed retaliated by blasting the top of his opponent's head off, just above the bridge of his nose. Angered, the Dutchman put 1 bullet through Clutty's heart, another through his throat. Staunching the blood from his neck, with a fingerless hand, Ed screamed and returned fire. Seance room was silent. Bang, bang, bang. So these are undead gunmen from the ancient, well, not the ancient, but from the distant past, I would assume, and they are having a gunfight, which obviously would have killed anyone else. This guy's top of his head's blown off. They're missing fingers, ears, bullets through the heart and through the throat, and they're still firing. So it's pretty funny. The sound of the hammers must never stop. And given prior issue, this may be a commentary on America's gun violence, which was prevalent even back in the 80s. Of course, it's only gotten worse. Hasn't gotten better. That's what the ghost told Amy Cambridge when she asked how she could undo the wrong her family's guns had caused them. Sound of the hammers must never stop. So she built a house covering 6 acres just to keep the spooks away. That's not supernatural, man. That's just plain nuts. Anyway, why'd she feel so guilty? Cambridge Repeater wasn't even a popular gun. So her family manufactured a gun that killed a lot of people, and they probably got quite wealthy from it. Well, anyways, I bet it wasn't too popular with the Indians, and there you go. Wasn't a popular gun, but it was used to kill a lot of Native Americans. Bang, bang, bang. Yeehaw. Look, really, it's not a joke. The Cambridge Repeater was a sort of second-rate copy of the Winchester. It was a lot cheaper, and a lot of people used them. Used them for killing. David, they're rifles. What else would people use them for? Beating eggs? Just because people get shot doesn't prove all this ghost stuff. Right.
You ought to listen to your wife, Dave, and forget all this spiritualism crap. And there's an NRA bumper sticker. So this story already is just as prescient and just as topical now as it was back then, because same problems still exist in spades. Oops. I mean, who needs it when there's so much fun to be had on a purely physical plane, right, Linda? Sure. Rod, it is an old place, all falling down. It might be unsafe. Hey, who rattled your cage? I mean, what is this? I have a novel idea for a little fun. Everybody starts getting cold feet. Rod's right, Judy. This beats Taken, another crummy movie. Look, I wasn't trying to put a damper on anything. I mean, knock on wood. The place is probably perfectly okay. Ha, knock wood. David, where'd you get all the superstition from? Well, knock wood probably dates back to when the folks asked wood elementals to watch over them. Hey, I'm superstitious too. Absolutely refuse to make love 13 times in one night, right, Jude? Rod, stop it. Rod's this oversexed, horned up meathead. Finds a way to have a corny sex joke in pretty much everything. Or at least a double entendre. See, I always insist we stop with number 12, no matter how much Judy begs me to carry on. Rod, please. Hey, we're here. There it is. Ghost Dance. There's the house that Amy built. Amy Cambridge, who built a house. She kept hammering nails because that was the only way to keep the spirits away. You see the clever Swamp Thing title there, sort of after Will Eisner, but using organic swamp and then the manufactured thing. Beautiful page, beautiful perspective shot of this. And this is called Ghost Dance. Stan Walk and Alfredo Akela. Alfredo Akela, as I've mentioned before, was a long time penciler and inker for Marvel and DC. He worked on a lot of Conan the Barbarian, tons of other stuff. Stan Walk, best known, aside from this, for some work on Sandman. I'm sure he's worked on a ton of other things, including Vertigo stuff, but that's mostly where I know him from. Geez, that's all one house? All those towers and windows? She carried on extending the house for nearly 40 years. According to the ghost instructions, the builders worked in shifts, day and night. But why? Because of the sound of the hammers must never stop. That's how the ghost wanted it. Sound of the hammers never stop. Essentially, the hammers, there's a hammer and a gun. You know, that's the hammer when you pull the trigger. And essentially, in America, there's gunfire and gun violence every single day. So that sound of the hammers really never does stop. Ghost, hell. How about this real estate? How come this place has been left to rot? Well, the Cambridge family was going to turn it into a gun museum. But they changed their minds, you see. Inside the house, it's haunted. All those dead outlaws and redskins, David. Isn't that just a little Stephen King? I wasn't going to say haunted. Inside the house, it's abnormal, the architecture. She built it to the ghost specifications. There's 160 rooms. There's 13 bathrooms. Hey, how many bathrooms did the ghost ask for? I mean, you know, is there sex after death? Boy, this guy never stops. Well, I'm going to take a look for myself. Who's coming? Linda, I mean, I don't know. It's like a maze. The servants needed maps. Dave, lighten up. Hey, Linda, you'll be Shelley Duvall. I'll be Jack Nicholson. Reference to The Shining, where Jack Nicholson says, "Here's Johnny. Rawr, gar, here's Roddy." I'm sorry, Rod, about the way he behaves. I'm sorry about Rod, about the way he behaves. With Linda. It's okay. Linda plays up to it. It's just a thing she does, this flirting. I guess we better go find him. If the servants needed maps to get around this place, they're really walking into some real danger, I would think. Yeah, I guess. David, I worry about you. I think you suppress a lot of hostility. I never heard you once snap back at Linda. Bottling up anger's bad for you, you know? Yeah, well, I've just learned to make allowances, I guess. David's kind of a nerdy, polite, decent guy, and Rod is this massive douchebag. But, so, we'll see who gets their just desserts here. Yeah, well, I've just learned to make allowances, I guess. I think they went through this door here. I made a mistake. This is one of the doors I read about that doesn't lead anywhere. You think they took the next door along? The one that looks like a closet? Judy? No, he's lost Judy. And something bad's going to happen here. Upstairs, Franny Mitchell couldn't get her wig on to set straight, and wished not for the first time that the others hadn't been so strict with Amy Cambridge over that no mirrors rule. Problem was, if the wig was too far back, it didn't cover that little black beauty spot that Will Roach's wife had made on Franny's temple. Hey, Linda, the others are still downstairs. Then again, if the wig left the back of the head uncovered, that was worse. Hey, Linda, come on. It'll take them hours to find us. If the wig sat too far forward, you could see Franny's brains. Linda, are you, Oh, no. Well, hey, you were waiting for me up here all the time, huh? Looks like I didn't get my signals crossed after all. Ha, ha, ha. They cut that out? Hey, cut that out. What are you doing, you nut? So to talk about wigs here and Franny's brains, these ghosts are all gun victims. Most likely, Franny got a shot in the head, and now as a ghost, still tries to wear a wig to cover up her mortal injury, and so that's where the creep factor enters, because these are probably all gun victims as a ghost. Oh boy. Linda, you're really wasted on David. He's a nice guy and all. I don't want to hurt him, but oh geez, you're terrific. Your skin, your lips, your hair. And he's pulled the wig off, and this is actually the ghost or the ghost possessing Linda. I'm not sure which. Ah! Oh God, it touched me. Let me out of here. Back in the bedroom, Franny sighed and threw the matted hairpiece into the corner. She heard the scream exactly 3 stories long, and then there was only the door slamming monotonously in the summer wind. I'm not sure if he ran out of one of the towers and fell to his death or not, but I'm sure we'll find out. Bang, bang, bang. Rod, that banging, is that you? David. Listen, David, if you're doing this as some sort of feeble-minded joke because I laughed at your ghost story, coming from down here? Okay, Rod. I know it's you. David's scared of loud noises. If you want to attract my attention, there are other ways of... And these are... This is fantastic and grotesque at the same time, sort of in the way EC Comics are. These 2 gunfighters are still down here fighting it out. Now you've just got a completely disembodied, pair of legs still hanging in there. And a headless, fleshless, torso and legs firing away. Ed Clutty and the Dutchman had been in the seance room almost an hour arguing over those mark cards. There wasn't much left of either of them. Dutchman still had enough of one arm to hold his gun, whereas Ed by now was little more than a pair of legs. No. Luckily, his right hand had been blown off intact, still holding the gun. Sheltering under the oak table, it provided covering fire. Outside the seance room, the passageway began to fill up with firing squad victims who had come to see what all the noise was about. Oh, please, no. The one whose hands weren't tied behind their backs moved their cold fingers over her face, reading her, reducing her beauty to braille. The last thing she heard before she lost consciousness was Ed Clutty's head screaming encouragement to his hopping, shuffling legs from one of the 13 fireplaces. Then even that was lost in the deafening gunfire. Bang, bang, bang. Firing squad victims, which in this case not traditional innocent victims of gunfire, but more condemnation perhaps of America's willingness to have corporal punishment, I should say. Corporate punishment would be a very, very good thing, and we don't have very much of that. Corporal punishment we have far too much of. And here's some more victims of gun violence. All the bison from America's plains that were almost slaughtered into extinction. Rod, David, Linda, you in there? She had found the skylight set into the solid floor in the corridor that narrowed 3 yards to 6 inches. She found a closet only half an inch deep and another the size of an apartment. She hadn't found any people. Stupid. Eventually, she looked inside the freestanding wardrobe. In a house like this, one door was just as likely as another. Ah! Bloodied bison, ghost of bison. Terrible. Inside the wardrobe, she could hear the hammer storm of the giant hooves getting louder, closer. The wardrobe was perhaps a foot deep at most. She realized with a feeling of distance and clarity that this was an hallucination. Unexpectedly, she expected an old Porky Pig cartoon, and laughter rippled up from within her. Inside the wardrobe, the thunder grew nearer. Absurd, completely absurd. And then it crashed out. And here come the bison, snorting and literally trampling her, as you see her, just her hand. And she, who seemed like a very decent person, nevertheless, is absolutely crushed to death by this herd of undead bison, of all things. The din of the hoofquake rumbled away down the adjoining passageways, gone in seconds. The stench of musk and hide would linger for weeks. By now, the excitement had spread through the whole 6 acres of the house. There was something in the air. Down the drunken, twisting corridors, they thronged, spilling out onto the landings and balconies. There were celebrities, including one Clanton brother, and non-entities. 3 and 5 were Indians. Oh, God. 3 and 5 were Indians, meaning, that's the percentage of Native Americans, I guess, that were just wantonly slaughtered in the colonization and the manifest destiny of settlers moving out west. Like the creatures of Rosewood and Kenniscook and Louisiana before them, the ghost of San Miguel
were animated by some barely understood and distant impulse. A shadow from far away reaching out to touch them. The suicides had felt it, mistaking it for the day of judgment and resurrection. They were in the bathrooms, making themselves presentable. Linda! Oh God, Linda, where are you? Okay, these are suicide victims. The house buzzed with the breathless whisper of dead voices, the leaden shuffling of dead feet. Visitors, they had visitors. Franny Mitchell decided to cover the hole in her temple with an ornamental flower. Todd Weatherby, who'd shot his beloved family on Christmas Eve, 1842, led them downstairs to the hall. The little girls looked like they had their best red Sunday ribbons on in their hair, but of course they hadn't. Those weren't Sunday ribbons that were red. Those were gunshot wounds and blood. The rear stairwell was comparatively empty. On the first floor, standing a sour-faced Cherokee stood scowling, moonlight shining through his stomach. He would find Linda. He would get them both out of here. He would do this thing and nothing would stop him, God willing, if the fates decreed. Knock on wood. And of all of them, he's the one that got lucky. He said knock on wood, and Swamp Thing, who is partially made of wood and is from the woods, has arrived. You came. A wood elemental. Yes, of course, it makes perfect sense. A wood elemental come to protect me from the ghost. Ghost. God, yes, hundreds of them. Thousands, everything ever killed by a Cambridge weapon. That's why they made her build such a big house for them. So many guns, so many dead people. Not just dead people, dead wildlife everywhere as well. The sound of the hammers must never stop. They said, made her build a house to appease them so they'd never let her be. Built with nails the way Cambridge bullets built a country. Bang, bang, bang. Oh God, my wife. My wife's in there somewhere. My friends. Please help them, please. I leave him sobbing in the moonlit hall, and follow passageways as complex and twisting as guilt itself. Everything smells of cordite. Hallways twisting as complex as guilt itself. It's a great, fantastic line, really. As I approach the heart of the house, the ghosts are everywhere. Outside the library, I see a hunter, his face a sticky red thumbprint. A tide of dead rabbits swarm about his feet, those with shattered spines or legs dragging themselves painfully, bloodily. In the kitchens, the cowards are gathered, their faces turned to the wall in shame, a single poppy at the center of each back. Finally, I arrive at the Eye of the Madness. In my mind, I hear its name spelled out in a morse of table wrappings and squeaking wine glasses. The Seance Room. The woman is alive. The things inside the room are not. From the seventh fireplace, a liquid, bubbling voice is screaming about marked cards. Under the table, a severed hand and a complete forearm claw and struggle for possession of a 6-gun. I know what I must do. So this is all the incredible carnage just caused by the Cambridge gun in the settling
quote unquote, and or colonization of America. And all the human lives, innocent lives, of various races and creeds, and all of the animal life and wildlife that was tormented and suffered, all at the hands of these pistols, or these rifles, I should say. To quiet these ghosts, there must be noise, the sound of hammers. The sound of the hammers must never stop. They hear it. Throughout the house, I sense their sudden hush. I hear the indrawn breath of those who have not breathed in centuries. My fist fall upon the dusty oak. Wood upon wood, a dead man's tattoo. Bang, bang, bang. And down the writhing hallways they come running, limping, crawling. Bang, bang. So he's giving them the bang that calms them, or sends them into a frenzy in this case. But obviously can't continue doing this for eternity, so very possible he may destroy the entire house. Or who knows. Surging into the room, they flow in ragged, stumbling currents toward the fireplaces. Oh, okay. Maybe they're all going to incinerate themselves now. Clambering over each other, they scrabble through the hearths and then upwards. I see a woman lift something football-shaped, and from the 7th fireplace, carrying it with her up into the sooty dark. Bang, bang, bang. From the 47 chimneys, a churning black gout of cordate-scented smoke belches out into the summer wind, and the wind disperses it without a trace. From the corridor outside, I hear the slow, even breath of a unconscious woman. There is no other sound. The house is silent. I carry the woman outside for her mate to find. Then I go, leaving them to their tender reconciliation. Linda! Oh, thank God. You got out. You're okay. What happened? Where's Rod? Rod, where is he? You didn't leave him in there. Him and Judy didn't come out. I mean, I don't think they're going to. No, oh no. Why did it have to be him? How come you got out? Linda, what are you saying? Look, you're upset. I mean, I know you were friendly with Rod, but... Friendly? You jerk. I've been sleeping with him for 6 months. Let me think. We have to get back to town, call the cops, an ambulance, something. We use their car, right? Only you have to drive. I'm too shook up. Oh, geez, Rod. Well, David, don't just stand there. Are you coming or not? Yes, Linda. I'm coming. So, not sad. David was the only decent one out of the bunch. Well, actually, that's not true. I think Rod's girlfriend was also, I guess, decent. But, except maybe the indictment is that she was with Rod in the first place. But then we see that this woman, Linda, was just she's just a cruelly manipulating woman, and she and he's just pee-whipped, as the word would go, and maybe he is too benign. And this is the first time we've seen in the series where we've seen a female being abusive and so callous and cold-hearted towards a man. Primarily, all of the other episodes and all of the other relationships, with the exception of Swamp Thing and Alec. And now, even in this, just a prior issue, a couple of issues ago, the man who got the hallucinogen for his dying wife. Those are the two main sympathetic relationships that we've seen. Otherwise, the men have been very abusive or, just assholes. But Alan Moore flipped the script here, and she's definitely the asshole, and yet in true form, this isn't a case where the bad people always died. She's still fine, and that's that. You came then. Got the message I left for your girlfriend, eh?
Yes, I came as you requested. I am no longer certain why. I know that you will only give me another riddle, another enigma, another senseless destination. Never the truth.
The truth? Is that all? Well, why didn't you say? Lads, he wants the truth. Come on out and say hello. Come on, he won't bite you. A little strange that if the guy's wearing spurs, it surely couldn't be the two guys from the manor. But Willie's... No. This is it. These are Constantine's very unique friends who have lots of issues, and yet I think they can see the future to some degree. A lot of dark things in the future, perhaps. It's one of the spawn of Shub-Niggurath, and Lovecraft mentioned, hey, Constantine. That's pretty intense, I mean, geez.
Constantine? Who?
This is Benjamin Cox, and this is Frank North. They're associates of mine. They'll be helping us with these final stages.
Final stages?
That's right. There should be others, but our operative in London has lost touch. So Sister Anne-Marie's gone to find her. Hey, John, I mean, it's getting late, man. We better get going. This guy may be into the supernatural, this guy with the sunglasses, but he's obviously afraid.
Going where?
Where are we going? Where are we going? You're worse than a bloody kid on a day trip to the bloody Skegness. We are going to show you this truth that you're so keen on. See, as it happens, I've got a couple of front row tickets for the end of the universe. I thought it'd be best to use them now. I mean, you never know. There may not be a second performance. The epilogue. And this is an epilogue on the gun violence. The only way you'll take my gun from me is to pry it from my cold, dead fingers. And that is a direct quote from Mr. Charlton Heston. Great actor, but unfortunately an NRA spokesperson, president, maybe even, or a gun advocate of note in his last years or his final decades. So that's a direct sort of snipe at Charlton Heston from Alan Moore. Deservedly so. Well, sir, I'd say you've made a wise purchase. Can I wrap that for you? There. Yeah, that's a fine piece. I sell a couple of hundred a year, and knock wood, I ain't never had a complaint yet. Of course, if you use it a lot, you gotta take care of it. Oh, well, I don't think I'll be using it that often. Thanks for all your help. Pleasure, good hunting. Well, that's David. Leaving the store, the unfamiliar weight beneath his arm seemed like made him lightheaded, as a kind of counterbalance. I sell a couple of hundred a year. That's what he said. That's what the man said. He felt strangely complete, strangely reassured by the thought, part of a huge secret fraternity, driving home to have his little talk with Linda. He could hear the blood pounding in his temples. The sound of hammers. The sound of the hammers must never stop. What an epilogue. So, David, who was the lone good person maybe in that house,
finally the weight of everything Linda told him, cheating on him for all this time and manipulating him and caring only about Rod and wondering why he even got out alive and Rod didn't. That weighed on him for a little while, and maybe also the influence of all of that whole mystique or mythology, I guess, of the hammers must never stop. Got to David, and David bought his first rifle. And the implication is that he's going to have a little talk with Linda and probably shoot her, maybe shoot himself afterwards. I don't think he's, because of the little talk with Linda part, I don't think David's just going to commit suicide. So the gun violence, the final statement from Alan Moore here is that whatever resolution there was in the House, and Swamp Thing got these two people out, America's gun violence is perpetuated no matter what. And that's true. It's been true for another 30 years since this series, I guess, was written. So that's the end. The next episode or next issue is titled Revelations. And there it is. And that looks pretty exciting because we've got the Phantom Stranger back, Batman back, and Hawkman, and some sort of prehistoric lizard that Swamp Thing has conquered, but I'm sure there's a lot to that. This is a special crisis crossover, which probably was not something Alan Moore really wanted to do, but he was still a relatively new writer at that point, even though I'm sure everyone was boffo about his incredible run on Swamp Thing. And so he went along with it, I guess, and it'll be really fascinating to see how he incorporates these characters, as he's done a brilliant job of incorporating mainstream DC characters so far, very casually into the series and very sparingly, but when they've appeared, it's been very impactful. So that's it. I'm going to end this episode now. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to comment, and please feel free, especially it occurred to me, please tell me if my Swamp Thing voice is absolutely ridiculous and terrible, or if it works for you. But either way, thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon again with the next episode. Bye.